Hi, I'm JP.
And I'm Adam.
I've never seen Lost.
I have.
I'm told that it's good.
I liked it.
I'm told that it made sense.
Sort of.
But we're watching it out of order.
So it definitely won't make sense.
But it might still be good. Since we won't expect it to make sense, we'll still be able to appreciate each episode on its own merits as a 1-hour story.
Sometimes 2 or 3.
As opposed to just a fraction of an ongoing, sprawling, and increasingly complex tangle of relationships, personal stories, mysteries, mythologies, experiments, social dynamics, unnatural disasters, unanswered questions, and hot tropical hookups.
Are you okay?
I'm not sure.
Because you lost me a little bit there at the end.
Well, good, because I've been lost since the beginning. We're Lost on Lost.
Welcome, everybody, to Lost on Lost. My name is Adam Busher, and I'm joined, as always, by the Lost on Lost MVP, JP3.
That's me. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I didn't know we were doing nicknames. All right, cool.
Before we get started, I want to take a moment to announce the first official Lost on Lost listener trivia contest. Now, on the day that this episode drops, episode 15th, we will post on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter an official trivia contest post. Once you see that post, all you have to do is DM us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and answer the following trivia question. In the pilot of Lost, what was the flight number of the plane that crashed on the island? For the first 250 people to answer correctly, I will send you JP's credit card number.
Wait, hold on. We need to talk about this ahead of time.
Today we're talking about Homecoming, the 15th.
My numbers are 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
We need the pin, too.
4, 20, 69.
Today we're talking about Homecoming, the 15th episode of Season 1, and the 15th episode overall. Our centric character on a back-to-back tour of Lost on Lost is everybody's favorite bassist / backup vocalist, Charlie Pace. Homecoming takes place on the 27th, 28th, and 29th day after the mid-air breakup and crash of Oceanic Flight 815. JP,
Yeah.
got a recap for me?
I sure do.
Let's have it.
Homecoming focuses on the world's worst grifter and employee of the month, Charlie. After Charlie reunites with the group, trouble lurks in the jungle as Ethan assaults our sweet, sweet Jin. Listen, you can do whatever the fuck you want to Claire, but mister, if you so much as touch one hair on Jin's perfect head, I will stomp on your head like Michigan J. Frog. What was I saying? Ethan wants Claire for some reason. That's really about it. Vincent the dog returns. The editors get to use all those slow dissolves and sunset shots they've been saving up. And in the words of Clarence Boddicker from RoboCop, guns, guns, guns. We have a guest. Again, as we do.
Again? What?
Again. And I still don't know if we're doing last names. So I'm going to say our guest is Tom. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Happy to have you, man.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know how to describe you because you are a world traveler, a researcher, a mountain man, a sailor, a actor, all sorts of things.
Thanks, man.
How would you describe yourself succinctly?
God, I feel like you always hype me up so much. I would say I'm a research scientist.
Okay.
In the field of conservation psychology. So basically I do...
You're smarter than us. We get it. Okay.
I do research related to attitudes about environmental issues.
Which is amazing and awesome.
Thanks.
And Tom is also voted most likely of podcast guests to be able to survive on the island. So I don't care who else we have on the show. I don't care if John Locke comes on the show. Tom's voted higher than him.
I think that, Tom, you're also our second guest who either has a postgraduate degree or is in postgraduate studies. So,
cool.
Bring a little cloud.
For sure.
Nice.
So, Tom, tell us a little bit about your background with the show Lost. Did you watch it in its original run? Were you a fan? Have you seen it before?
So I have not seen it.
Perfect.
Adam, let me know if this seems right to you. But
Okay.
so I think you were watching it for the first time when we were living together. And I think that at the time the show was maybe on season 3-ish.
That tracks. Yeah. The
And
timeline of our former roommatedness.
Yeah.
does fall in line about 2006, 2007, 2008-ish.
Yeah, so I definitely missed the pilot, but I think I caught maybe like 3-ish consecutive episodes at some point in the middle of the season, plus a couple other random episodes from season 1, and then maybe like an episode or 2 from seasons 2 and 3. So I like the faces look familiar. I know some of these characters. Like, it wasn't hard to remember some of these characters' names, but I don't really know what's going on.
Good, neither do we.
Basically, I was lost on Lost before it was cool.
Oh, shit.
Whoa. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of stuff do you typically like to watch, Tom? Well, I know for our listeners that listen to us and Nuke It From Orbit, you were recently on an episode of their podcast as one of their comic experts. I would definitely say that you are a fan of comic books and a comic expert. Yeah, what kind of stuff do you typically watch or read to pass the time?
I mean, I do consume a lot of Marvel content for sure. I would say like my number one jam for TV is definitely Firefly.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I think like a decent mix of stuff. I like sci-fi. I mean, I guess I would say I avoid horror, but I'm otherwise pretty much open to whatever.
Awesome. Well, we are very interested to see what you have to say about Homecoming.
Yeah, let's talk about Homecoming. Homecoming was written by Damon Lindelof and directed by Kevin Hooks. Damon Lindelof, you will of course remember from the smash hit Daniel Craig vehicle, Cowboys and Aliens.
Jesus Christ.
Which is a movie I saw in the theater. Kevin Hooks, on the other hand, directed a shitload of Prison Break and also Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes.
Have we seen him before on Lost, or
No.
have we seen any of his episodes? Okay, because I was going to say this episode visually feels very different than a lot of the other ones.
And I have a couple of notes through it that I want to touch on when we get to him. But yeah, I looked him up after I finished watching the episode. He directed 2 episodes of Lost, this one and White Rabbit, which we have not done yet.
All right.
So let's talk about it. Homecoming with Charlie Pace. Charlie wakes up in the caves, startled by the noise of Locke dragging a still pregnant Claire back into the caves.
No, he starts waking up to people saying, "Where's Jack? Where's Jack?"
Oh.
And then me in the background saying, "Fuck it, Jack doesn't solve all your problems, folks. Think for yourselves. Come on." We have a big problem with Jack on the show, Tom, because especially in the first half of the show, he's too perfect. He does everything. Everyone needs Jack for all actions.
What's that term? Mary Sue is that the right term, or am I using that wrong? Like, he can do everything. He's fucking invincible. Like,
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But so we've seen her get snatched, and now we've seen her get brought back. We haven't seen anything in between, and so I don't know if that would have helped us, but I don't.
Well, they say that she's been gone for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that Ethan pretended to be one of them, and so we haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, and I looked at it. This is episode 15. All the Best Cowboys was 11, so that's 4 episodes in which they cover that 2-week period. Maybe, I don't know. I was always under the impression that Lost in the first season only covered like a day or 2 per episode,
right?
And maybe that was not the case for this stretch of episodes here, but whatever.
Anyways, but. Yeah, so Claire's back, and she doesn't remember any of the other survivors. She remembers that she was in a plane and that it crashed, and that's about it. So everything else is very jarring, and it's all new to her. And she's, who are these people? What do you want from me? What's going on? She has the opportunity to make a new first impression, and doesn't exactly knock it out of the park. Also, Tom, I hate Claire, so...
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, she has quite a bit of redeeming qualities in this episode, because she's not just the pregnant lady that's there to be the pregnant lady, but we'll get into that.
It's like if you were to reverse rank the utility of the survivors, she's second from the bottom, probably. Like,
Who's at the bottom?
Shannon, maybe?
Oh. Vincent the dog's like 4th from the top.
It's like number 1, Jin, number 2, Locke, number 3, Vincent, number 4, Jin again.
Perfect.
So, Tom, having almost no frame of reference for how any of this goes, like, so how did this moment here at the beginning, prior to the Lost title card coming up, like, how did you deal with that? How did it settle with you?
I actually think, I feel like this is maybe a particularly good episode for someone who has not seen the rest of the show, because Claire has no idea what's going on. Like, she's sort of in the same spot that I am as a viewer.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. You're both fish out of water in this instance, so things need to be re-explained.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So like the questions that she's asking are like the exact same questions I'm asking.
All
and
right.
I wonder if that like sets me up to see the episode a little bit more from her point of view, just because like
Maybe.
because we both know the same amount, basically.
Maybe.
Well, it's so weird because this is a Charlie episode in the fact that we have Charlie flashbacks. However, so much more of the action centers around Claire, but then a huge chunk of sort of the third act is dedicated to Jack and Jack's revenge versus Ethan. It's a very, we've seen, Tom, for your edification, we've seen Ethan and Jack fight, and their fight in this episode is very reminiscent of their fight in the previous episode, and like the rain and all that. So it's very muddled in terms of, it's a Charlie episode, but only because his flashbacks are in it.
Yeah, even Jack finds a way to make a Charlie episode about him.
Yeah. Well, thank God, because Charlie's not doing much for his own episode here. This episode drags.
Oh boy. So we come out of the title card. Claire can't remember anything, and she's just sort of like reiterating that to people, like, I don't know what's going on. Like Charlie, Jack, everybody's like, what do you remember? Blah blah. We cut to Sun and Jin, off to the side, two other fish out of water, just kind of observing from the side. Still speaking Korean. Jin asks her a couple of questions. Sun tries to answer his questions as best she can.
I feel like there's some missed opportunities here for someone who's coming from my position of not knowing what's going on. They also can kind of be substitutes for the audience to be like, hey, what do you think's going on? Except like so little is given. The conversation is like, what do you think's happening? And the other one's like, I don't know, it's probably fine. Like that's sort of like the extent of what we get.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm going to jump forward here, but in one of their later conversations, Jin's basically like, I got a fucking rock to the chest. Because some shit that they're doing off in the woods.
Yeah.
And that's such an amazing little moment. It's seriously, I mean, if it's 20 seconds, I'd be surprised. But yeah, I mean, Jin gets messed up in all this stuff because he's a very skilled fisherman. He seems to be pretty good at survival stuff, but he does not speak the language. He's involved in zero drama here, but because he's a very fit guy, he's used as a resource and therefore is caught up in all of these shenanigans. But it's like, I don't speak the language. I don't know what all of these idiots are up to here, but now I'm getting rocks slingshotted at me in the woods, and it's like, that's an amazing point of view to have. It's like, I didn't ask for any of this. I'm just trying to survive on this fucking island. I don't know what John Locke's up to. Like, I don't know what smoke monster is or whatever.
Yeah. There's a brief, right as their scene wraps up, he asks her about the baby, and she is like, I think the baby's probably fine. And he gives her a weird look because he maybe thinks she knows more than she's letting on. There's got to be some sort of weird stuff happening between the two of them that we have learned zero about, not only in this episode, but on the podcast either. Because I think the only Sun or Jin episode we saw was from season 2.
Yeah.
Cut to Locke and Boone. This episode cuts a fucking ton. You mentioned it in the recap, but god damn, this thing bounces around like a pinball. Cut to Locke and Boone. Yeah, Claire was missing for about 2 weeks. They're like, we were way out there and we didn't see anything, and then, Boone, talk about useless. Cut to Charlie and Claire. And this is where they talk about the kidnapping. Claire fills her in sort of on the stuff that happened from the episode All the Best Cowboys, where Ethan came in and took them both, and
hung up Charlie. He knocked the dust off of Jack.
Yeah, which he doesn't tell her, which I think like he's doing his best to protect somebody who's clearly had a sense of trauma or whatever. But so she's like, well, what happened to you? And he's like, no, I'll tell you later, I guess. And
yeah, there's. Again, I don't mean to jump ahead, but we understand Charlie's motive toward the end of this, but there's so much of not informing Claire. And it's one of those, we've talked about it before. If people would just be straightforward, if people would be adults, if people would communicate and be like, this is the situation, this is what we're trying to accomplish, or this is the threat at hand, things would happen much more streamlined.
Right.
That seems fair.
Right, because the thing that Charlie does not tell Claire here is that Ethan, hanged him by his neck from a fucking vine. Yeah. So, I guess I buy why Charlie didn't tell her, but because it is kind of a harrowing story, but the amount to which Claire is kept in the dark throughout this episode is frustrating to me. I can understand why she was frustrated.
Right.
And then we cut to our first flashback. Charlie and a dude named Tommy do heroin.
Wait, is that his name? Tommy do heroin?
Yeah, Tommy do heroin. Tommy do heroin all day long.
I'm sorry. These two gentlemen are the worst grifters. This plan makes no sense. I'm going to get this out of the way right now. Go to this woman's dad's house.
Wait, no.
Instead of just
seduce her first. First, make her fall in love with you, which that should be hypothetically the easiest part of the plan because you're a celebrity.
Sure.
And then,
you're the
bassist.
Yes, seduce her. Go to the house and steal something. Right? Okay, right. Sure. The problem is you're a famous person.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to add 2 and 2 together. Oh, I slept with this pseudo-famous bassist, and the next day something was missing. I wonder who the fuck it was. Or Charlie screws it up and then becomes part of her life. Well, okay, once you leave and then something is missing, that you're even more suspect at that point. Instead, they should just be like, oh, that's the rich guy's daughter. Let's just go to that house and rob it. Like, this plan has no legs.
Right. I mean, you know who else would come up with this con plan? Sawyer. This is a classic idiotic Sawyer con plan. I mean, he runs this same basic con and other shit, but it works for him because ain't nobody know who Sawyer is.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Tom, can you name 3 famous bassists off the top of your head?
No.
Okay, well then, all right, maybe Charlie's plan would have worked a little bit.
I guess it's a little bit unclear to me how famous he is. So I guess clearly the band is a big enough deal that they're in the jukebox. So that's saying something. But it also seems like, are they past their heyday? Yes.
I mean, you come to see later in the episode, he explains that they're on this extended hiatus because the other member of the band had a baby or whatever. But I always saw them at they're written as sort of like a version of Oasis, basically.
Okay.
They're 2 brothers who run the band, and then they get drunk and then they slap each other and then whatever. But yeah, the best days for Drive Shaft are definitely behind them. But they I'm not an Oasis fan. I don't know how many hit albums they had. Drive Shaft had an album and a hit single. You could compare their success level to maybe The Darkness. But yeah, horrible plan. Cut back to the beach. Saeed, Locke, Jack, and Charlie are on the beach, and they're talking about how it's possible that Claire was returned. Saeed pitches the idea that maybe Ethan let Claire go as a mole or a spy or something like that. And Charlie gets all wound up about that. The most important thing that I wrote about this scene was actually the camera work, which we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know. They're whipping around a dolly that is not level. You can see when it transitions from track piece to track piece. The dolly also hits end of travel and comes back, and it just there's a lot of really weird camera stuff that happens in this one. I'm not going to go into every little instance of it, but visually this episode felt very different. This
was the scene where I first noticed how different it looked. Later on, it was my feelings about it were reinforced with the dissolves and stuff, but
oh my god, fucking yeah, they were so slow. And we got these pretty sunset shots that we probably had left over from the pilot.
Back when we had time to shoot things.
Yeah.
But yeah, another scene where not much happens. I mean, the camera does a shitload.
Again, Saeed is bringing up some valid points, some concerns. I feel like, John and Jack have some good conversations later on where they're like, okay, no, let's actually talk this out. We're finally having conversations. That's fine.
At this point, Charlie heads back to the caves and runs into Jin. And this is where he's like, you're so lucky to not be caught up in it. You don't speak English, so you don't have to put up with the bullshit, the tree shaking behemoth, the whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then
he just talks at him.
Yeah.
Tom, you've traveled around the globe quite a bit. Do you find that just speaking English at people tends to help? Just sort of monologuing at them endlessly. Does it help get your point across?
No, I don't know. I
What?
mean, maybe read something into tone. I can kind of see how it's like a natural human instinct, though, to be like, I'm here with a person and I would like to communicate with them, and even knowing that we'll fail, it's like still instinct to do it. Maybe.
That's stop reinforcing the bad habits of these people. I hate, Tom. Please.
Sorry.
the thing that's funny about this scene is that Charlie says, you're so lucky to not be involved. And then he, of course, gets schwacked in the dome with a rock.
Oh, well, he got it in the chest.
Oh,
I
did he?
thought.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he probably just knocked the wind right out of
Either
him.
way, though. But the sound...
That's gotta suck.
Yeah.
That's gotta suck so fucking hard.
I had what is with that sound? Like,
It was
because you have
Ethan's-
no idea what it is at first. I
Right.
mean, I guess you find out it's the sling, I guess.
Yeah.
But like they're
Yeah.
looking around, like they can't tell what it is or where it's coming from. And then the rock hits him in the chest and he gets knocked out.
I mean, might have collapsed a lung or something at that point. I mean, I think Jin knows exactly what it is. He has this look of, oh fuck, no, I know what that is. That's bad. And it's either him or Charlie that's going to get dropped like a fucking sack of potatoes. And unfortunately, it was our beautiful, beautiful Jin.
Did nothing wrong.
Except have perfect hair.
Right.
God, those cheekbones.
His hair only gets better as the show goes on, too. It's wildly unfair. Unlike actual time and actual hair in real life, where your hair tends to get worse as time goes by, his only gets better. So yeah, we get our look at the Ethan back from wherever, stalks out of the jungle. He's covered in blood and mud, and he's damp. And
He's got scratches on his face. He throws Charlie up against a tree and is like, hey, you're going to bring Claire to me. Otherwise, I'm going to kill somebody. If you don't bring her to me tomorrow, I'll kill somebody. And I'll keep killing somebody until you're the last one. Which I guess I would want to clarify. Does that mean you're going to kill Claire too? And then me? Or is Claire not in this equation? I just want to know where we stand with the order of death.
that would have been some shit if Charlie would have been like, can you? I have some questions.
Does that
holding him
include
up
Vincent
off
the dog?
Right, the dog. Just holding him up off the ground. Ethan,
Yeah.
like, we saw in All the Best Cowboys, Ethan just, like, beat the ever-living piss out of Jack.
Yeah.
And here, yeah, just picks up Charlie by his throat. It's not like Charlie's like a little, like, paper
lifts him
doll
off
of
the
a person.
ground.
Yeah.
One-handed, yeah.
Well, which of course is reminiscent of the fact that Ethan hung Charlie up by the neck, and a little heavy-handed with the symbolism there. But and we see later on, I mean, Jack lands a series of punches right on Ethan's face, and he keeps fighting. Like, this guy is not to be messed with.
For you, Tom, this is your first look at the bad guy.
I think, like, as an audience member, to, like, follow the narrative, you need to have, like, some grasp on how dangerous he is, or, like, the level of threat that he possesses. And I feel like it's like, not even clear yet if it's supernatural or something. Like, when you see him lift Charlie off the ground, I mean, we're like, is this supposed to be superhuman strength? Or, like, the idea that he can attack the entire group of survivors and like, pick them off, we're like as a group, they can't defend against him. So it seems like he is a very real threat, but it's totally unclear as to, like, how or why.
Yeah.
Well, and even for us, that's not clear, because when he kills Scott or Scooter or whatever the fuck his name was.
Scott.
Yeah, whatever. Like, they're like, his neck was broken in both of his arms or
And all
something
his
like
finger
that. It's like,
bones,
yeah, how much time did you have alone with Steven? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, whether or not Ethan has some sort of superhuman strength, I mean, he might. We don't know in the show, but that's a very good point to bring up, Tom.
Yeah. Cut to the next scene. Charlie, Jack, Locke. I titled this scene "The War Room." the conversation is tense. It's a little defensive, but actual conversation and strategy about what to do in order to either defend themselves or go on the offensive against Ethan. And I must say that was a breath of fresh air compared to Jack and Locke's normal strategy on how to deal with protecting the survivors.
But Jack still does that fucking jackass defensive thing because he's like, well, if that doesn't work, what's your idea, John? Just because he pointed out that your plan isn't good doesn't necessarily mean that he has the answers right now. He's just saying this plan obviously has some flaws.
Right.
Like, don't get all fucking butthurt about it, Jack.
Right.
Just let's try and be constructive here.
Like, I like the fact that they were talking, but yeah, Jack was still defensive throughout it.
Right.
I mean, because in any other episode, they would just Jack be like, "Well, I'm gonna go fuck kill Ethan." And Locke would be like, well, I'm gonna circle the wagons. Be like, "Fine, you do that, Locke. Fine, Jack. Fine, fuck you."
You're not my real dad.
Oh,
like that's what it would have been. That's what I was expecting, and I didn't get that, and so that was kind of nice.
Yeah, at least they did talk it out, and we formulated a plan. Okay, we can deal with that.
Cut to the caves. Jin and Sun. This is the Jin and Sun moment where Jin is continually frustrated with his isolation from the group, even though he's there and he's living with them. He's all by himself. Speaking, he's got Sun, and it's just them. But even at this point, you start to get the idea that maybe she's finding a way to ingratiate herself and communicate with the other survivors, leaving him alone in a lot of ways. And he's starting to have a lot of resentment for the rest of the survivors for getting him all tangled up in their shenanigans. And I don't blame him.
Then, correct me if I'm wrong, the next bit is where Claire starts to get the stank eye from everybody. Claire is trying to just kind of settle back into life with the group, and she's getting the stank eye from everybody, including a very wonderful performance from a woman carrying 2 water bottles who I'm just going to call Karen because she has the most Karen face that I've ever seen. It's just this like, but people are distrusting of her because she's been missing and she doesn't remember what's going on. And word is kind of getting around, I guess,
like
a little
maybe
bit.
Saeed's theory might be circulating amongst the survivors.
Yeah.
but I feel like is there any way that this wasn't going to happen, that she was going to find out? Like, if you're telling the survivors, the other survivors, what the situation is about, like, the threat from Ethan, like, unless you specifically tell them not to tell Claire, which seems not to have been the case, then, like of course she's going to find out, right?
Well, and isn't it better that she knows so she doesn't just wander off into the woods by herself and be like, oh, I'm going to go look for some fucking mangoes or whatever. And then Ethan's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's imperative as adults that we communicate that to the other fucking adults.
Yeah.
Cutting into the flashing back to Charlie and Lucy's first date. Back to her place, we see Charlie start to case the joint a little bit.
Really quick, going back to when he's hitting on her in the bar, he said something about Jane Austen wouldn't approve. Charlie, name 3 Jane Austen books. Fucking do it. I dare you.
Pride, its sequel, Prejudice, and then the final book in the trilogy, Pride and Prejudice.
2 Pride, 2 Prejudice. Okay, so
there's a real sly original British Office reference slid under the door here.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, she just says that he's off buying a paper company in Slough. The original Office with Ricky Gervais was set at a paper company in Slough. Maybe they weren't referencing the Office. I didn't go and look up what time the original Office was on the air, but that's what I think that's what they were doing. Not that fucking
seems
matters. Right. Lucy's dad has a bunch of swag from the bunch of British Imperials, including Winston Churchill.
Just hanging out on the fucking end table too, not even in like a glass case or something. Like, hey, sure hope somebody doesn't fucking steal this.
That would have to be hard to fence, right? It'd be like, it's like
I think so too. Yeah, how do you prove that it is what it is? Like, who owned it, right? Like, how? It's not like there's a certificate with it, like
right. And say they can't say the fence does look at it and be like, oh, sweet, a Winston Churchill cigarette case. I know exactly who owned this before you stole this.
Well, okay, so like, and the idea that like, all right, well, they're junkies, right? So they need to turn profit quick so that they can get the junkie fix or whatever. I know about drugs. But like, okay,
Yeah.
you're clearly not going to get what this thing is worth because you're fucking buffoons and you haven't exactly thought this grift through. So like, why go for this big ticket item that you're not going to get its total value for? Just go down to the fucking 7-Eleven and steal some fucking Hoobastank albums and then sell those on the corner. You know what I mean? Like, is Hoobastank a thing? I don't know. But
can you buy Hoobastank CDs at a 7-Eleven? Who knows?
I don't know. But like, why are you trying to go for this like heist of the century when it's like you're probably better off doing petty crime?
Right.
Because it's going to be faster and you're going to get the money for your drugs.
Right. Yeah. Well, and like you said earlier, this plan makes no sense. Charlie and Tommy, not the criminal masterminds they hope they would be.
No, not at all.
But I guess also, like, as a former member of a very famous band, is there not like some other employment opportunity? Like, even if it's not his ideal situation,
Right.
Like he has not yet. Like he hasn't yet attempted to have a solo career. He hasn't tried to like leverage his fame in any other way.
Right.
No.
He could be a session musician. Like he could play the bass at a fucking recording studio for other bands and just get paid that way.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, and I understand that he's the songwriter, but he's like, everyone seems to have some like tertiary knowledge that he's a celebrity of some sort. Like, go sign a bunch of autographs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sell your shitty Chuck Taylors and be like, oh, these were Charlie's Chuck Taylors, selling these for $50. Boom, get your drugs.
Cut to the kids.
Guys, if we were all like strung out on crank, we'd be able to facilitate our drug problem way better than Charlie.
Because we wouldn't
I've
be
always
out
felt
here,
that way.
Yeah, we wouldn't be out here trying to snatch Winston Churchill's cigarette case from some rich lady's dad. We'd have better ideas.
Or just like steal her credit card or something. I don't know. Like there's got to be
That's right there. That's such a better idea. How long did that take to think of that? In almost no time at all.
Tom, I've always, I've known you for years, and I've always thought, now there is a guy that could sustain a drug habit right there.
Thank you. Right? Yeah.
Cut to the caves. Kate and Jack. Jack has a stash of guns from the marshal. Kate suggests doling them out. Jack says he's not going to hand them out to a bunch of untrained gun users.
Okay. Again, why is Jack in charge of everything? I mean, I'm sure we'll see this at some point, but why is Jack also in charge of the guns on top of everything else? But this does get addressed, but in big bold letters, I wrote, 9mm in untrained hands. You have Sawyer, who killed a polar bear with a handgun. Saeed, a former Republican guard. John Locke, survival man. And you, Mr. Perfect. And who ends up with the guns? Those 4 people exactly.
Yeah. Who did Jack think Kate was? Give the 4 guns to Rose, Vincent,
The kid.
Yeah, Walt, and
the marshal.
And the marshal, who's dead at this point.
Give one to Ethan. No, wait, fuck.
Oh, wait, shit. We cut to Locke, Saeed, and Boone, who are setting up defenses. They set up some alarms, some bags of aluminum cans. They're going to set up some fires. They're setting up guards.
Tom, you've spent some time in the woods. Have you ever been in a situation where you've had to like impromptu set up some sort of perimeter defenses or snares or anything like that?
No, I've never had to be in a situation like that. I could not actually even tell what that was supposed to be. The like trash bag trap thing. Like it does not seem that loud to me.
Right?
And like if you're there sitting at the perimeter, you know, where there is a fire, like looking out anyway, it's not clear to me what this is doing for you. Maybe
it's supposed to be covering a part of the jungle that they're not watching or that won't be lit by a fire. But yeah, you brought up a good point that I didn't even think of. That wasn't that loud.
Did somebody hear like a bunch of cans in a trash bag?
I think somebody just trashed.
It was nothing. Go back to sleep, honey.
Right. I think somebody just tripped over Sawyer's stash of empty aluminum cans.
Yeah.
Cut to flashback. Charlie has dinner with Lucy and Lucy's dad. Charlie.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, the dad and the daughter, the actor and actress, are 10 years apart in age.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's fair.
Right here, this is an opportunity to take a little part and fill it with a phenomenal actor. They should have cast somebody as the dad that would have just killed this scene, and they didn't.
Everybody name an actor that would have made this scene better. Go.
Anyone from Firefly.
Hugh Laurie.
I was going to say Jack Davenport, but now, not from 2007.
Yeah, like somebody with any sort of personality.
Any sort of gravitas or anything, whatever. Drive Shaft is probably over, he says, and
sharing a little too much at first dinner with Dad, but okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like the dad's story sort of gets him to buy into the idea of what it would be like to not have a career as a musician. Like maybe just get a regular job. And like I said, a better actor would make that sale way better, but it didn't for me. I was just like, okay. If I'm Charlie, I'm like, nah, I think I'll just keep doing heroin and hoping to be a musician.
But now he's making copies.
God, you're fired. God. You're fired from the podcast.
There was gonna be a whole segment of the intro where I was just doing the making copies bit, but I decided to spare the audience that.
Until now.
Yeah. Now we're in it.
Charlie bails on the plan, and Tommy cuts him off. He tells him that he explains to him how how the whole payout was supposed to work in case we didn't get it. So now Charlie's well aware that he's not going to get any more heroin, which is a bummer.
What's his partner's name?
I think it's Tommy.
Tommy Do Heroin?
Tommy Do Heroin.
Yeah. If Tommy Do Heroin, the fucking mastermind of this, is like, oh, you're having dinner with Dad? You're like hanging out with them? That's not how a grift works in terms of we just need something to fence right now for drugs. That should be a bailout. We're done. We're moving on to something else. But he's like, oh, I'll date now if you're serious about this, Governor. Like, it's so fucking contrived.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like if there's a second date, it's already not working, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You couldn't make this work after the one night stand. You're not going to make it after dinner with Dad.
Such a horrible grift. Cut back to Boone falling asleep on guard duty.
No, stop.
Yep.
It cuts back to Boone dual wielding a spear and a knife and looking menacingly out into the woods, and that is currently the desktop of my computer is a screenshot of that. It's my favorite scene in Lost up to this point. Boone has something to prove, and he's gonna kill it with 2 knives, one in each fucking hand.
Well, he's not, because he falls asleep on guard duty.
Tom, you've spent some time in the woods. Would you?
Oh man, this is. I gotta confess, I have fallen asleep on guard duty before.
Oh,
wait, what were you guarding against?
The great Mississippi River, and all of that entails.
This plan is like supposed to last forever, right? Like the idea, like based on the amount that they fear Ethan, their plan is to now do this in perpetuity, right? Like have guards up at night forever. Like
until they get him, I guess. Yeah.
At some point, someone was going to fall asleep on duty. Yeah. Like that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, you got Boone on shift 1. It wasn't going to be a great plan.
When he volunteered, like at several scenes earlier, he was like, "I'll take a guard." Like, yeah, desperate to prove something, but then Locke is just like, "Yeah, let him play."
Yeah, he's got that dad energy. I mean, at least Boone's always volunteering. Like he knows he's a putz, but he's always like, "I'll try." Yeah. You know, that's more than we can say for fucking Michael.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the thing about Boone falling asleep on guard duty is that you can't necessarily say that Ethan getting into the camp and killing Scott, Steve, whoever, was necessarily a consequence of Boone falling asleep.
No,
because they said that, like, oh, he snuck in from the sea. You know, he came from the ocean, the one place we weren't looking. Like, it wouldn't have mattered if Boone was awake or asleep or dead or, like, whatever. Like, Ethan was getting in either way.
Right, exactly. Well, and when John and Saeed run up to, the tripwire went off by Boone, and it ends up being Vincent the dog. Mm-hmm. But Saeed and John Locke don't even ask Boone if he's okay. They're just like, look at this fucking putz. He tripped over. Did you stab yourself with your fucking spear there, guy? Like, they're just like, oh, he's fine.
Oh, good. And apparently, yeah, like you said earlier, Vincent was apparently missing because they're like, oh, it looks like we found another whatever. And then we hear a scream, and then we find out that, yeah, Ethan snuck in and murdered Scott, a background survivor.
Hurley does his best at an impromptu eulogy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he says what he knows about him. He worked at a internet company in Santa Cruz. He doesn't know how to end them. Amen, I guess. yeah, we come back to the caves. Claire's like, why won't anybody talk to me? Shannon is like, you didn't know? And then she finally dishes and spills that, yeah, apparently Ethan's just going to be up here murdering people until Claire gets back into his hot little hands. She gets pissed at Charlie for not telling her.
Rightfully so.
If I were on this island, every time somebody kept something from me, I would fly off the handle constantly. They would know me as the fly off the handle survivor. They'd be like, why aren't you telling me? And like, they'd have to lock me up because like, that guy's crazy. And be like, you guys are all crazy. It's like, we were only here for about a week and that guy went like island nuts.
Claire, you know, she's very right. She has every reason to be mad at Charlie for this, like, oh, I'm protecting you. Fuck you. You're keeping me in the dark. You're keeping me, you know, uninformed, which is more dangerous than me not being protected, whatever the hell that means.
Yep.
I just can't take her seriously because yelling in an Australian accent just sounds silly.
Wow. Okay, you guys know Claire better than I do, but do you think that if Charlie told her everything, that she would have willingly surrendered herself to Ethan?
No, I don't.
I don't know.
So.
She wouldn't have willingly surrendered herself to Ethan, but I think she would have been interested in finding a way to help. She's never like, even though like like Claire in what we've seen of her, I mean, she has an obvious thing that makes her a little bit less capable of contributing in the fact that like the first month that they're on the island, she's pregnant. She can't lift anything heavy. She can't walk around. She can't whatever. So like,
right.
But beyond, if she weren't pregnant, when she's not pregnant, when we see her in later seasons, she is contributing. She wants to contribute. She wants to be helpful.
I don't fucking believe it.
So
wow, so much Claire hate.
But well, and in this episode, she has amnesia, right? Mm-hmm. So or some sort of memory loss.
She has soap opera amnesia, which is that type of amnesia that you only get that you forget the last 3 weeks, and then you get your memory back the next episode.
Which they even call it out in the show, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it John Locke? Or is it right?
It's
Who's like
Saeed. It's like, how many times have you ever diagnosed real amnesia? And Jack's like, no, it's rare. It happened 3 times when I was on Party of 5.
It was a 3-episode arc. But so from Claire's point of view, all she knows up to this point, let's forget the last month or whatever that they've been on the island. All she knows is, here's this group of survivors. Mm-hmm. They're seemingly nice to me. They're concerned for my welfare and the welfare of my unborn child. Mm-hmm. They seem to have some resources. They're not eating each other yet. So my choice is these folk, or some guy wants to fucking drag me off into the woods. I mean, the choice is pretty clear, you know, like, yeah, I'm sticking around here. Like,
right.
I don't think that there would be any reason why she would willingly go to Ian, because especially if she gets her memory back, she'll be like, well, fuck no, of course I don't want to, unless something has happened while she was with Ethan that we're not privy to.
Right.
So,
well, so I think I guess the counter argument is, if she doesn't turn herself in, if she knows and doesn't turn herself in, then she like could potentially feel morally responsible for each murder at Ethan's hands.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Well, and that's why I'm saying, I think if especially once she realized that somebody had actually died because nobody told her why people were dying, like, yeah, at that point I'd be like, no, I'm not saying that she would volunteer to surrender herself to Ethan. I'm saying that she would be interested in talking to Jack and Locke and Saeed about what they can do to stop him. Like, she would want to
yeah. Okay.
Which is exactly what happens. And she has a very exactly your same argument. Like, no, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? Like, use me as bait and let's go get this son of a bitch. Right. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, Claire, let's do that.
Which, if they had filled her in on what was happening, they could have done before Scott died.
Yeah.
Flashback, Charlie's finally starting to hurt. It's been a couple of days, whatever, since he fixed up, so he's starting to get sick. But he's going to go sell a copier.
Oh my god!
But like, he's hurting bad enough now that he realizes that maybe this was an idiotic idea, and so he swipes the Churchill thing.
He says something about like, oh, you didn't have to get me this suit. Yeah, she didn't, because that suit does not fit you, my guy.
Does not fit. The shirt needs to be taken in around the neck.
That looks like it's your big brother's suit.
Maybe it was her dad's suit. And it was like, oh, you didn't have to give me this suit from your dad's closet. Because I look like a child now. I look like a child who's having heroin withdrawal. So we cut back to the beach or wherever, the island somewhere. Jack is like that. Jack and Locke have another like, this isn't gonna work. What are we gonna do? Like he brings up what you said, Tom. Or we're just gonna do this forever now. Like we have to stop him.
Yeah.
And so Jack is like, well, maybe we can fucking blast him. And he takes him off into the jungle and gives him a pistol from a stash of 4 guns from a little metal case that apparently the marshal had.
The little like look around that they both do, where John's kind of looking around and Jack's like peeking around a rock, like, we got some cool shit going on here, man. Hey, you want to see something? Hey, check this shit out. I'm sorry I have to do this. There's major segment. Continuity issues with the guns.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Because in that case, John has some sort of nickel-plated gun, a SIG, a Beretta, and a 1911, which typically 1911s are 45s. They do come in 9mm. They're a little more rare. But then later on, when the whole thing happens with Ethan, they have 2 nickel-plated guns, one that Saeed has and one that Jack has, even though it switches in his hands, because in one shot he has a Beretta and the next shot he has a nickel-plated gun. So there's, I hope the continuity director is well rested, because they took a week off for the shoot. There's also a shot on the beach where like the same woman walks by twice with sticks. So anyways.
She's just carrying sticks back and forth. It's part of her job as a survivor. That's her survivor job. Move the sticks.
I'm stick carrier.
Locke, Saeed, Jack, Charlie, Claire get together, and now here's the plan. We're gonna bait Ethan with Claire. Claire's in. Claire's sold. She doesn't want anybody else to die. Charlie wants in. They're like, "Have you ever fired a gun before?" No, but I fired up heroin. Well, the vomiting flashback happens real quick here, which is like played for laughs, but I thought this moment was so tragic. Like, it's got goofy music.
And like
with the stopwatch.
The bass hits like when it cuts back to him on the island, and there's so many scenes that linger in this episode. Like, you guys really were just like, fuck, we got 15 more pages to fill on this piece of shit. Let's go. Tom, quick question. Have you either, 1, puked during a job interview, or 2, puked into a printer?
Neither. I've done neither of those things.
Adam, we need to get some more diverse guests on this show.
This was not relatable content for me.
They cut back to the dumbest cut between flashback and island thing where they just linger on Charlie's face right after he embarrassed himself at this job interview. I was like, what the fuck is happening? They head back to the beach to find Sawyer. They need another gun, and it's gonna be Sawyer. Jack's like, you used one of these before. He's like, I think I know a pair of polar bear that would say yes.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, it's true.
We have another moment of somebody just like wanting to be involved. Kate's like, I'm gonna come, and Jack's like, no, we don't have enough guns, and Sawyer's like, I have an extra gun.
Yes.
No. Okay.
Nice.
Hold on. First of all, it's gun show and tell, because I like that. Because y'all, you got guns, Doc? Check this out. But he said that it was the gun from the marshal. Didn't Kate dismantle that and throw it in the jungle in the pilot?
She definitely took it apart after she snatched it off Sawyer after Sawyer shot the polar bear. Yes. So
did he go back into the jungle and go find the gun parts?
Maybe she didn't throw it away. Maybe she gave him the frame and Saeed the slide or something. I don't know. But I remember in the pilot where you were like, Noah asked what kind of gun it was, and you said he says, is it a Glock? And you're like, I'm pretty sure it's a SIG. Nailed it. It's a SIG.
Yeah. Fucking. But didn't we talk out later on that it was a SIG 40?
Not
because that's what right, because it's what U.S. Marshals carry, right. And he says, "Oh, you got more 9mm." So again, I'm glad that the armor and the continuity director had a nice week off in Hawaii, because There's some inconsistencies.
Sawyer gives Kate the spare piece. She joins the thing, and it's just like, why? What do you give a fuck for? Like, yes, we want to protect Claire and everything like that, but like, we got 4 guys with guns against 1 guy. Like, if the 4 of them can't handle it, 5 of you are not going to handle it. Like, Kate, stay on the beach.
But I do love that they're like, oh, Kate wants to join? Yeah, we'll give her a gun. Charlie's still sitting there on the beach like, wait, you guys had an extra gun and I still gotta sit here? Kate only killed a man with an oven. Like, what?
Is there any reason why you like wouldn't want Kate to go along?
I just don't understand what her motivation is to pile on. She like every time they go anywhere, like somebody always wanders up and is like, "Oh, don't leave without me," or "I'm coming too," or whatever. And then they always have it's the conversation that always happens. I want to come, you can't come, but I want to. No, why?
Yeah,
why are we having this conversation? Why are you like? If they want to come, let them. Or why do you? It's whatever. We said this in the pilot. If all of the conversations where somebody said I want to come and somebody else said I can't come, if those all got cut, the show would be a season shorter. They set up the trap and wait. Big bad Ethan shows up. They catch him. And yeah, we have this pretty badass fight scene in the rain where like Jack gets his revenge from all the best cowboys and beats the piss out of him. I mean, as best
Ethan's not just going down.
No.
I mean, even when he's on the ground, Jack lands like 3 or 4 big body punches to his face. Like, he's putting his entire weight into it. And Ethan's still like, is there the best you get?
Right. But yeah, so they're going to get ready to question him or whatever. But Charlie picks up the gun that Jack dropped during the fight and blasts him and kills Ethan.
So frustrating. It felt like the end of 7, where it's like all you had to do was not shoot him. you get some answers, you know?
Yeah.
While I did write in my note, Charlie, you're worthless, but nice grouping.
All 5 in the 10 ring.
Yeah, really nice.
And
I
yeah,
thought it was really unclear what their plan was, because if the idea is that Claire just like happens to be out walking by herself and Ethan is like lucky to be stumbling upon her, like isn't that sort of obvious considering they like just last night they like set up this huge defense? Like, why would she be out by herself? Or if the idea is that they're like handing Claire over, then like why does she scream and run when she sees him?
Yeah,
right.
Like,
yeah, that was my thought too.
And when Ethan first rung Charlie up, he was like, I want her back and I want you to bring her to me.
yeah.
Like, if that was like, if they were trying to make it look like they were handing her off, why didn't Charlie walk her out to there and just like say, hey, Ethan, we're here? Like,
well, and also when she runs, if she's in the center of 5 people with guns, like, if she runs off in a direction, now everyone has to play catch up. If she just would wait there and let Ethan just grab her or whatever, then everyone can close in at the same time.
right.
And it does feel kind of weird. Like, Jack is there right away, and he's like, you know, scrapping with him. And then, like, how much time passes before other people show up? Like, kind of too much. If that's
way too
considering that, yeah. If your plan specifically was this, like, it feels like it was poorly imagined, right?
Well, Saeed is up in a tree. And also, later on, after everything's over, Shannon is like putting a Band-Aid on his arm. Saeed didn't fight anybody. He got hurt getting out of the tree.
That's so true. Yeah.
She's like, oh, poor baby. And he's like, I was very brave.
I think as someone who like didn't know anything else coming into this episode, it feels like I don't know, kind of a letdown. Like, I think that we're set up to believe that 5 people with guns are not like guaranteed to win against this guy showing up by himself.
Right. It felt
And
like
so-
the fucking little rascals were against him. Like,
And like, well, not only that, but then Jack ends up basically taking him down by himself without using his gun, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I guess Ethan is like nowhere near as powerful as he was sort of set up to be.
And it's so strange that it's like you have a gun and you decide to body check him and the gun goes flying to where now potentially he could grab it.
Exactly. I'm no expert in gun, whatever, but like you've said it, JP, in previous episodes about prisoner detention, not keeping weapons near some. If you're trying to hold somebody up, you don't get within arm's reach of them so that they can just snatch your gun away.
Right. Because that's the first thing that Sawyer does is he gets within arm's reach of him and like points a gun in his face, like, don't even think about it, Pilgrim, or whatever. And it's like,
yeah, and I was just waiting for Ethan
four steps back.
Yeah, exactly. Create distance. It's accurate within whatever 10 meters or whatever. Like you don't need to be that close.
Right.
Cut to the whatever wherever they are. Jack is like, "Why'd you do it, Charlie?" And he's like, "Because he deserved to die." And
cool, you fucking psycho.
Yeah. Cut to flashback. Charlie had to get rescued by EMTs. The EMTs found the Churchill thing. Lucy's mad, understandably so.
Did they buy the printer? That's all I want to know. Because it was set up there as demo. The sale was pretty much guaranteed. Did they buy the fucking printer?
Hopefully not that one.
Oh no.
She's like, "Why'd you even do it? Like what the hell?" Like she's understandably confused. And he's just like, "I thought maybe I could actually be not a drug addicted, washed up rock star." And I understand the impetus there. I mean, like nobody wants to feel, useless or burnt out or, thrown away.
I do.
Or whatever, so
yeah, I do. That's why I started a Lost rewatch podcast.
Struggling for meaning in my life. Somewhere.
I think that for me for that scene, I feel like there's a near miss. I mean, I think that even if it was like the best version of that is probably not like an amazing story arc, but
no,
the idea is like he both steals the thing, which you imagine happens because he like finally cracks and is like, whatever, I can't go through with this. Like I can't do it. I'm just going to like go back to the plan and steal it. Except he steals it and then still goes to sell the printers.
Right. Well, and that's what she's,
and I don't know that his explanation actually makes sense in that context, because like if you did just want to take care of her and show that you were capable, then why did you steal the thing?
Right. Like why'd you steal it in the first place? Yeah. It's he gave up on the plan to steal it, but then he changed his mind after he had already stolen it or something. I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, it feels like narratively we need him to have had it so that he can get caught with it.
Right.
But it doesn't actually make sense.
Right.
Well, and the whole line that she says that is supposed to tie all of this together, and you're supposed to be like, aha, is you'll never take care of anyone. Mm-hmm. But he didn't need to take care of the
Lucy.
Lady, I forget her name.
Lucy?
He's also not taking care of Claire. He's trying to do this thing where he's sheltering her, where he's not telling her the truth, which isn't taking care of her. Like, he hasn't learned from his mistakes, unless what that meant was, oh, he took care of Ethan. He took care of that guy, you know what I mean? Hey, I take care of him. But, like, he doesn't seem to have learned from the lesson he learned in his flashback. Right. He's still being irresponsible.
Yeah. We come to the final scene of the show. Claire wanders up and she says she remembers peanut butter. And she says she wants to trust Charlie. Maybe she can. I don't know. But it's, whatever. So that's Homecoming.
It has a really soft ending. It's not that like classic Lost cliffhanger. It's just kind of like, well, that's the end of another day on the island.
Just another day on the island where somebody murdered somebody. And then somebody else murdered another person. 2 murders in the last 36 hours. Did we like it? Was it good? Tom, why don't you kick us off? Did you like this episode of Lost? Did you think it was good?
Yeah. So I think for me, the like yardstick or whatever metric for whether or not it was good should be like, does it make me want to go back and watch the show? Mm-hmm. And I think the answer is no. Unfortunately,
that's the correct answer.
Yeah, I think you have to, like, the arc with Charlie and Lucy. It feels like there's not enough payoff there. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that arc quite makes sense. I think because I don't know what the peanut butter thing is, that like there's also not really a payoff. There's no arc for me between Claire and Charlie, and then Ethan, who like that feels like it should be like the big action. Like there also isn't really payoff there. Like like he's sort of built up to be this really impressive, dangerous figure, and then Jack just like fights him, and it's kind of over. And
we found his one weakness: 5 bullets to the chest.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they had like a particularly like clever plan and outsmarted him or like got lucky or like they're like just this guy who you lost in a fight to before, this time you won for whatever reason. And
let's beat the fuck out of him and then shoot him. Oh,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't feel like there was enough, I don't know, payoff for me to like feel like I need to come back and watch more.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. Adam?
Yeah, I think I would just echo everything Tom said. If using that as a metric, doesn't make me want to watch the next one. We've had episodes where we've got done recording and we were just like, fuck, I want to watch the next one right now. We're probably not going to record another episode for a couple weeks, and that's fine with me.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I understand sticking with a format and having some continuity in storytelling. Trying to tell this story should not have taken a full episode. These flashbacks could have been lumped into somebody else's episode. This whole bit with Claire was so drug out, and there was so much dead space and dead time that, yeah, this whole episode kind of feels like a wash.
Quick bit of trivia before we move on to Lost MVPs. I found this on Lostpedia. Damon Lindelof at one point did an interview for some sort of pop culture blog and admitted that this was his least favorite episode of the entire series.
Oh, no. Wow.
Well, at least
I lucked out.
Our fingers pretty well on the pulse then.
Like he in the interview he talks about how like everybody, like all the fans hated Stranger in a Strange Land from season 3, the Jack's tattoo episode. And he's like, but this episode is arguably like way worse.
It's fucking weak.
So yeah, let's do it. Let's do Lost MVPs. Lost MVP, the bit of the show where we take our favorite character from just this 45 minutes, minus context, minus memory, minus anything you might know about anything outside of Homecoming. Tom, who was your Lost MVP?
So I think my inclination would be to lean towards the most likable, which would be probably Lucy. Like, she seems like a nice, sweet person.
All right.
Oh,
there you go.
But yeah. I think like just coming into this as someone who has like no idea what's going on, I'm maybe the most grateful for Claire, actually, because she provides like a reason for their narrative to sort of like explain something.
Okay.
Like to a newcomer, right? JP, I know you don't like Claire, but I do think there's like a clear like narrative purpose here, right? Or like,
okay, thanks for coming on the podcast, Tom. We'll have you back. Never. No, you're absolutely right though. She actually like does some good rational things in this episode.
Yeah, like because she's asking like Jack and Charlie a little bit what's going on, we get like there's a part right in the beginning where she's like, "Who's Ethan?" And then Charlie has to be like, "Ethan's the bad guy." That's literally what he said.
Right, yeah.
Like, okay, like I like some framework now for like what's happening, and like, I think it would have been like tough without that like bit from Claire.
Totally. Adam.
Mine, I'm giving it to Edward Mars, the now deceased U.S. Marshal. Specifically for needing to bring 5 guns to Australia to arrest Kate Austin.
Nice.
That was all the guns in the country.
JP, how about you? Lost MVP.
There's only one as far as I'm concerned, and it's the Heatherton C815 Copy Center. Leading scan offerings combine the benefits of document capture with instant delivery anywhere, anytime.
Anytime?
Yeah, they should get their own spinoff.
Anytime.
Oh my god.
He's so far into this fucking grift that he remembered the sales pitch. You're such a bad fucking grifter.
The other half of this bit lost forever. This 45 minutes just here in Homecoming, minus your memories, minus your context, minus anything like that. Who could you seriously have done without? Tom. Lost forever.
Well, so my honorable mention for worst would be Charlie, because
yeah.
I mean, like killing Ethan seems like a bad idea. Like that's kind of unnecessary. Like you should at least try.
Fucking dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like obviously he's not great at the grift. Like I don't know. There's like some good reason to not like him, I think.
Yeah.
But I think I have to give Lost Forever to Tommy Héroin. He seems like a real good friend, selfish, bad influence, no real redeeming qualities. So he gets a thumbs down.
I'm gonna go on Lostpedia and change his name to Tommy Do Heroin, but I'm gonna spell it like really fucking French. Adam, Lost Forever.
Boone, for no real good reason. I mean, I could easily tie him with Shannon and. I don't know. Like there were, I also read in the trivia for this episode. This is the first episode in a couple of episodes that had featured the entire primary cast.
Yeah,
Oh.
It's stacked.
But like a bunch of them didn't do anything. So why were they even
Yeah.
there? Like Shannon could have easily not been there.
Which one is Shannon?
Right. Exactly. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not just for this episode. That's for the show.
Okay.
Shannon.
JP, Lost Forever.
I'm gonna say Claire only because when she was yelling at Charlie, she said, that she didn't like being left in the dark, and she missed the opportunity to do a Scent of a Woman. Charlie, I'm in the dark here. I'm in the dark. And I just cannot let that sort of thing go. I also have the audio of Noah Totsky screaming that at the top of his lungs, so I will post that on our social media.
Great. Final little bit here, burning questions. If you don't have one, that's all right. We just if there was something brought up in the episode that didn't get answered, and you hope gets answered in the future or was answered in a previous episode, this would be the time to ask it. Tom, did you have a burning question?
So my speculation, and let me know if you think this is off, is that the writers probably want our burning question at this point to be, why did Ethan want Claire? Do we know that, or is that just me?
No,
we don't know. Yeah.
That's very valid. Yeah, I mean, we don't know on this podcast, but I assume we also don't know on the show either.
Don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I do feel like narratively that's like the big question. I think as a viewer, I mean, for me, it could be like, who is Ethan? Like, there like not enough questions.
They asked it enough times, enough characters basically asked some version of that question where I have to imagine that we as the viewers of watching this in chronological order wouldn't also know exactly what Ethan wanted. Adam, burning questions?
Only because we did see this in all the best cowboys. Locke and Boone found that thing out in the jungle. The what ends up being the hatch. And then earlier in the episode, Boone is like, we're way out there beyond whatever. Like, are the two of them still fucking around with that? Like, is that still happening out? Like, what's going on there? I know that does get answered at some point, but yeah, like this is 5 episodes after that. Like, that's going to be a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
JP?
Where are they getting all the fuel for these torches? There's a lot of torches all over the place. I don't know what the fuck they're burning. I mean, kerosene only burns for a couple of minutes, so I just want to know what they're using.
Yeah, that's a good question. Tom, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
Coming along, being lost with us on Lost.
Yeah.
Tom, is there anything you want to plug?
No, I think I'm good. I'm not really in the like podcast world or anything, so.
Well, is there the center you're doing research for? Is there like a place people can donate to that?
Oh, you know what? No, I think I should. I mean, we're on grants. I think we're okay. But should I plug my research? You should.
If there's
go
stuff
on
you want
Google
people
Scholar, and look up an article called "What Should Count as an Endangered Species" by Tom Offer-Westort. There you go. And
hell yeah,
that's a recent research of mine that might be interesting.
Cool, very
awesome.
Cool.
Adam, note, write this down. Get grant for podcast?
Grants.
Question mark.
Podcasting grants? Question mark. Good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
Good.
Now, not that way we won't have to continue to lean so heavily on that Lactaid sponsorship.
Oh, we forgot to do our sponsor.
We'll do it after break.
Okay.
Thank you again, Tom, for being on the show.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And if you at home are trying to be lost with us, please check out our next episode. We will be watching season 1, episode 18, just a couple episodes after this one. Numbers, featuring Hugo Hurley Reyes.
Awesome.
So come
Very
check
good.
that out. Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Lost on Lost.
I'm Adam.
I'm JP.
Do you have any idea what's going on in this show?
Nope.
Me neither. Lost on Lost is produced and edited by Adam Busher and JP Russell.
Recorded on location in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Los Angeles, California.
Our show is hosted at Podbean. Find us there or wherever you find your podcasts.
Thanks to Danny Schmitz of Lost in a Name for our theme music.
Lostpedia and the community of contributors there.
Random.org for creating the watch order.
Check out our Facebook page, Lost on Lost, or find us on Twitter and Instagram at Lost on Lost 1.
Don't follow those jerks at Lost on Lost 2.
You can also email us at wearelostonlost@gmail.com. If you like what we're getting into here, buy us a coffee at coffee.com/wearelostonlost.
That's ko-fi.com/wearelostonlost.